Hello.
Hi, Srinivas.
Hi, Arthur. Good evening. Sorry about late.
Good evening. That's okay.
Yeah, you can start the recording.
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I think. Alter. Is it happening? I think now you got the request.
Now it started.
Okay.
It's fine. You're able to see my screen.
Yeah.
So these are the topics we discussed during our last class.
Yeah.
On any of the topic?
Clear.
Clear, right? JDBC. Generics, I think we haven't started, right? Yeah.
Mm.
The last one. So, do you remember something that we have seen when you're working with the collections?
Generics?
Yes. Some maybe not much, like little we might have discussed.
Okay.
Basically, generics, Java generics is like it's introduced in Java version 5.0. It deals with the type safety of an object. Means before generics were introduced, we can store any type of an object in a collection. Means without generics, if you declare array list, what in that array list, it's an object type, right? You can store string, integer, any kind employee object, student object, any kind of object you can store.
Any kind of data type, huh?
Yes, any kind of data type. So everything comes under object, right? So
Yes.
for array list is, so you can store any kind of object into store this one. So
Array
what it
list.
is here is, it's like a common holder, like we can store anything. So obviously, at the time of retrieving the value, what you have to do, you need to do a type checking, right? So you don't know like what kind of value will be there at the 0th location, at the first location, second location, right? That is, it is open for storing everything. So you started storing different things. When you store different things, obviously it's your responsibility to check it while getting the value that what is this type, right? Let's say in the 0th location you have stored student object. The first location you have stored string object. When you read in elements in the 0th location, you found it is student object, right? But you need to check whether that is a string at the student error. Then only you can proceed with your remaining logic.
Okay, so I need to check my type of data type.
Exactly.
Which kind of? Okay.
The developer's responsibility to type checking, type casting.
Okay.
So otherwise, it cannot work it as per your requirement, right? Values can be anything because you have given an open kind of a list. Anybody can store any kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So if you giving a general option, so everybody starts to pull in different values. So obviously, at the time of retrieval, you need to check like what is there at the 0th location, what is there at the 1st location. Here in this example, I told 0th location student. So maybe in some other example, it might be something else, right? So if you are storing without generics, then we can hold any kind of objects into that one, and typecasting is also required when you are retrieving. But if you start working with the generics, so when you say generics, so what you are going to say is at the time of declaration of your list, the collection object, you are going to mention that I'm going to store only strings into this array list. So
Okay.
you are limiting that I would like to store only strings or I would like to store only student objects. So advantage here is at the time of compile time itself, you are deciding that this object is meant for so and so. So when you give an option to others that this is for only for that purpose, so obviously others also will use only for that purpose, right? Advantage
Okay.
at the time of retrieval, do I need to check? No, right? Because
No.
I know that whatever the object which I give, it's going to hold those values. So type checking is not required here.
Okay, we specified the particular data type there.
Yes.
Also, no need to check.
No, no.
Okay.
That's where the generic comes into picture. So I'll show you them with generics and without generics.
Yeah.
This the array declaration, which is not meant for open, right? So it can store any kind of values now. So
Yes.
because add is a signature, it's going to take string object, right? So I can store anything here. So any kind of things it's accepting, right? Obviously, if you want to read a particular value, so let's say I'd like to read the first var location. String name is equal to l dot get of 0. When I get a particular location, what it does return in generally get an object.
Yeah, the value
particular value in the form of object. So it's our developer responsibility to store it convert into appropriate type. Then only it works.
Okay. Okay.
Then only it works. Suppose here I am getting string, right? 0th location is string. Suppose if I cast it into something else, integer. Suppose just what happens? It cannot convert, right? Because you are trying to convert string into integer, right?
Yes.
Cannot cache into. So that's all. So you need to be aware of the data in this case. That's where the problem is when you're working with an open kind of a list.
Okay. Okay.
So either you should know the proper value that at the 0th location it should be string. Then only your program works. First location it will be an integer. Then only your program works. But it's not case with the generics. So now I'm going to declare the generics. Here I'm going to mention that I would like to store on the string. So my array list name is ALNew, which can store only strings. So advantage here is ALNew dot. When I add a string, it was looking right, but when I try to add a
showing the error.
See the difference here? In case, if you are wrongly manipulating the value, at the time of programming, it was not even informing you anything, right? You are
Yes.
seeing that error only at the runtime. So that means when you actually perform that execution in real time, when you are working, then you are seeing. But here, you are saying that at the time of declaration itself is giving error because you said that this is meant only for string. But if you try, somebody tries to add a value which is of like not a string, then immediately shows that the error in the compile time. See the error?
Oh yeah. So we need to
String of type
give
string is
only
not available.
string value.
Yes. So whatever the type you mentioned here, suppose if you
String.
mention integer,
Hmm.
so it will accept only int.
Integer.
Then the error changed. Error is
Hmm.
giving here this line, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this one there is no error here because it's a valid one. All because it's happening because of the type here. So when I mention the type here, now I can do I need to suppose if I want to get the value, simply I can say this one I'm commenting now. Integer I equal to a node dot get of 0. Did I read any typecasting?
Integer.
Same thing I did here, right? Get of 0 I did, but here I have to use a casting. But here
Yeah.
I do not need to use casting. I know like what is there inside.
Okay.
Same
Okay.
thing I declared a variable. That's all.
Okay. Okay. So you know what the type of data is there in the list. So
Inside.
no need to convert.
No need to convert because it cannot be anything apart from this one, right?
Okay. Yes.
Because at the time of declaration itself, like I mentioned that if this room is for something, obviously that room contains only those things. I cannot expect anything apart from that room. So
Okay.
nobody cannot store anything inside that room.
Mm.
That is especially dedicated for this kind of a type.
Okay.
But
Generic array list.
not only array list for any collection. So here we took an example as array list. So any
Okay.
if you mention a type, so it is meant only for that type. If you are not mentioning the type, problem is that it accepts everything. It's a kind of a common room. Everything you can dump in.
Mm.
It is fine as far as dumping purpose, but at the time of retrieval, you need to know, right? What I'm bringing from that room.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is their first location is need to be taken care. Otherwise,
Mm.
obviously, like if you are getting something and if you are trying to convert into something, definitely compatibility issue. So cannot cast into so and so types.
Mm.
That's where the issue comes, right?
Yes.
Clear the generics.
Understood.
Now we'll move to JDBC. You know what is JDBC is?
No.
JDBC is nothing but Java database connectivity. Means
Okay.
we are doing a programming only with respect to Java till now, but we haven't interacted with any other system, right? In other
Yeah.
systems, the JDBC database is not specific to Java. Database is some other software. It is meant for something, right? Database
Yes.
for storing something and retrieving, and it is not a altogether separate thing. So
Mm.
using the Java, we are going to talk to that particular database.
Mm.
For what purpose? Either we wish to store something into the database, or we would like to see something which is there in the database. We can do all those things.
Mm.
We are going to talk with the external system, external application altogether.
Mm.
JDBC is nothing but Java database connectivity. Java database. JDBC. So in order to work with JDBC, we need to have any database. So in the market, there are many databases which are like available. You might have already heard the names Oracle, right? Oracle.
Mm.
Have you ever heard the name?
Yeah.
Oracle?
Yeah. I heard it.
Yeah, Oracle is one of the most famous, the most commonly used database. Like that, we have
Yeah.
many number of databases which are available in the market. SQL
Yeah.
Server, MySQL, Postgres, DB2, Sybase.
Mm.
Like
Did
that,
you have I heard this? Mm.
yes, there are n number of databases which are available. So if you are already having one of them in your local machine, you can straight away use them
Mm.
by connecting to Java. If you do not have anything in your machine, I would suggest to download this one. This is freely available and over the net. Okay, I'll show you the steps to download.
Okay, PostgreSQL. Okay.
Okay, I'll just show you the steps. This is the link which can be used. I'll ping you the link. Open source, so there is no licensing issue as well. If you are already having something, you can go for it.
Oh.
So depends on your operating system, you can click on that. So assuming it's a general Windows, right? So
Okay.
from here, once you click on the download, it will take you to the download the installer.
Okay.
You click on that, it will take you to the actual website. You need to choose. Right now it's 9.6 version. Depends on your operating system, either Linux, 32-bit 64, Windows 32-64, Mac. Whatever is the operating system, click on that. Suppose if Windows, click on that, it's going to download a exe file, executable file, right? Right, generally exe file you'll be getting for Windows. So go ahead and install that one. Okay. So usually the version which I am showing is like 9.4, which is this document I prepared some time back. Right now it is 9.6. So whatever is the latest version you can get.
Okay.
Apart from that, so when you have database in your machine, when you have Java, there should be something which is going to have like common thing to be communication, right? If both are there in your machine, that doesn't mean that they both can talk. So there is something which is required, right? We need to have driver software which is need to be downloaded as well. Driver software for Postgres. If you are using Postgres, so Postgres related driver software has to be downloaded, which we are going to use in your Java program. Postgres jar file. This is the location for it.
Okay.
I'll ping you this one as well. I'll show you. Hope you got right for the links. You'll be having a table of form. What is the value of the jar file? You'll be having a table of form. So it depends on the version. Here they have listed for depends on the Java version that you are using. They asked you to download the respective version. Suppose if you are using Java 1.8 in your local machine, suppose. So what they said, JDBC 42. So you go to JDBC 42. So they have given up to 9.4. So that means like 9.4 is applicable for your 9.6 version as well. So this version, if you click on this one, if you see my status bar, Postgres 9.4.1211.jar, right? Showing something. So that is the file which is going to be downloaded. This is a jar file, means Java archiver file.
Okay.
It depends on the Java version. So obviously we'll be using either 1.7 or 1.8. So whatever the version you have in your local machine, download that. Anything is fine. Okay.
Okay.
So that is the file. And the first one is software installation, and the second one is the file which you need to add in your program. These are the two things. So I'll show you after installation how it looks like. Once you install, suppose Postgres, so this is how you will be able to see 9.6 some version. In that, click on this PG admin 3. There will be a like small elephant icon. First, I'm showing how we can use that. Then we'll show you how we integrate with the Java.
Okay.
So, as part of after download, you are going to install this exe file, right? As part of that installation, it might ask you for a couple of things, like when you going with the installation. Okay, so it will ask you for the password. So when you are setting up the database, it will ask you for the password. Whatever the password that you have given as part of the installation, same password you need to give it here. So right now there is a cross mark here, right? That means that this is not connected to database. You observe the right side. Store password yes means I have saved password when I opened this window for the first time sometime back. So when I click on this, when I do a double click, it will connect database automatically in my case. But it will ask you for the password. So the password what you need to give is the password that you have chosen at the time of installing a software. Okay, first time I just saved it because I do not want to type again and again.
Okay.
It prompts and you can give, and if you do not want to prompt, you can use the option. There will be a checkbox there. Assuming that everything is connected, this is how it appears. So default database will Postgres. You do not need to install anything. Schemas will be having public schema. Go to tables. So in your case, tables will be 0. So these are the sum of the tables which I am having in my local machine. Suppose an employee. So employee is having a table which having 2 columns, employee number, name. These are the couple of values which are having right now in my table, right?
Okay.
You can have any number of tables inside here. Suppose you want to create a new table. On the table, and all these things are not specific to Java. Just to make you come, because you are not aware of the database, I'm just showing you how it looks like and how we can perform. Usually, all these things will be performed by the database developer.
Okay.
For us, we only need to know how to connect from Java to database. But it's a good to know, like if suppose the database developer is not available, at least we need to debug something. It's good to know, right? That's where I'm showing something so that you'll feel more comfortable and you're working.
Okay. So apart from this, so what we can use, SQL also we can use, right?
Yes.
To create the tables.
We can use it to create a, this is GUI to create the table, or you can write it, if you know how to create a complete code, you can write a code here directly to create the table.
Okay.
So
that's okay. But actually we are using this Postgres. Okay, Postgres. Okay.
Any
Understood.
database, like Java code is not specific to particular database. So it's any database code is same. Only thing is you need to have that particular jar file in your Java path. That's all.
Okay.
And that database, whatever you are referring, it should be able to connect from Java. That's all. Once you are able to do that, you can talk to any database as long as the database is available.
Understood.
That's all. So one is software and the other one is jar file. These are the two things you are required. Once you are done with that, nothing is required from you, the DB perspective. And so from now onwards, like anything that you deal with the JDBC programming, means database related programming, you need to import everything from the package called java.sql package. Java.sql. So definitely, like, you have a couple of things like connection, database, and everything. All are part of the SQL package, and you might see an exception called SQLException. This is because we are dealing with the database, right? We might end up with some kind of related queries, and we might face something related to the database queries and performing something, right? So they will be classified into the SQLException. So in order to connect to any particular database, first we need to have the basic thing. What is the basic thing? The connection, right? So for the connection, to establish a connection, what are the things which are required? JDBC Driver.
So between Java and database, we need to give a connection.
Yes.
Okay.
Database, how we are able to connect? When I open this one, how we are able to connect? It was asking for the password, right?
Yeah.
In my case, I saved, but in reality, it is going to ask for the password.
Okay. In real time, it would ask for the password.
Even in the real time, also, if you save it, it is going to save. But and ideally speaking, we are giving the password to connect to database, right? I save the password. When you open an Gmail account, when you first time you log in, if you save the password, next time it's not going to ask you for the password, right?
Yes.
The Gmail it logs in, but what we are doing, we are logging into Gmail by our credentials. But the only thing is, credentials are saved. It is redirecting into that particular my mail account, because it's my personal computer. I might have saved my password.
Yeah.
That means you are supplying a password, then only you are connecting, right? Ideally speaking. So when you connect to something, to connect to a database, what other things are required? Database username and the password. What is the username? Default username that usually gives is the Postgres. So up to the right side, this the Postgres is the username of the database that we
Okay.
carry. Okay.
Mm,
Password
mm.
can be anything like that you have used at the time of installation.
Okay.
Those are the
Mm.
three things that are required. And two more things. The JDBC driver. So
Mm.
for each and every database, there is a driver name. Means like it is the actual conversion code. Like for if you are communicating from Java to Postgres, there will be a Postgres driver. If you are going to talk to Oracle, there will be an Oracle driver. If we are going to talk about Sybase driver means there will be like communicating person which can understand specific to a particular database. Okay.
Okay.
So we need to mention the driver class name. What is the
So we
driver
need
class name?
to specify Postgres driver name,
Yes,
right?
Postgres driver name. From where you will get from the jar file that we downloaded, right? The version I
Yeah,
told you
yeah.
that,
Mm.
that it
Mm.
will be having. So that's that I told you the jar file
Mm.
is required because the jar file is going to have the driver. So driver is the
Mm.
person who is going to talk to the particular because driver can understand the syntax is specific to that particular database.
Mm.
If you are using Oracle driver. So if you are using
Mm.
Sybase driver. DB2 driver means each and every database we have one driver class specific to
Mm.
that particular database.
Mm.
From Java, you need to tell that I'm going to talk to Postgres driver. So you need to mention the Postgres driver name,
Mm.
database username, and the database password. Then
Mm.
the
Mm.
database URL means what is the URL? URL means where exactly location of the path, right?
Yeah.
So database URL means in generally right now database is also available in my local machine, right?
Mm. Yes.
So everything I'm doing on a local machine. So
Mm.
wherever is the database installed, that machine path has to be given. Means suppose if we are working in a network, so if you are working in a company, so multiple guys are going to connect to database, right? So database cannot be on a particular person machine. It will be on
Mm.
server, and that server IP is going to be shared to all of them. So we configure that IP in our settings so that we can communicate to that IP, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is the
Understood.
database URL. So these are the four parameters that needs to be connected given when you connect to database. What is the
So
driver
when we
name
are.
for your database?
Mm.
Where is the database URL?
Mm.
What is the username and password to connect to database?
So when we are going to connect for the first time, I think we need to give all these four, not for every time, right?
This is from program. From program,
Okay.
every time you need to supply, right?
Okay. Okay. In the program itself.
Yes, in the program itself, we need to supply all these things.
Okay. Okay.
This is a software which they have given option to check.
Eh, Okay. First, you showed the how to install that. Okay.
Yes, but this is a program when we are talking with respect to program. If you are not supplying, you won't be able to connect. Nothing happens. You won't be able to connect to database. You won't be able to connect. You cannot perform anything, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'll show you how we can connect to a database using the program.
Mm. So this JDBC comes under core Java or advanced Java?
It's combination. Some
Okay,
classify
combination.
into core Java, some classify into advanced Java, but ideally it's core Java.
Okay. Okay.
It all depends on how they classify the topic.
Okay.
What I'm doing here, I'm just declaring some constants.
Mm.
Why I have declared the constant? Because I do not want to change my program again and again. In future, if there is something needs to be changed, so I'll simply modify these constants. So it will change the database. So suppose I'm having some other database in my machine. If I change the database username, password, URL, everything, my program should connect to that particular database. That's where I'm maximizing to variables. So what is the driver name for Postgres? PostgreSQL. This is the driver name for Postgres. What is the database URL? It is there in JDBC PostgreSQL localhost is there in my local machine, right? Port number 5. That is my credentials, and I give the password the same thing. If you give something else the password, so that password has to be separate here. And at the time of installation, it will also show you the port number. So this is the default port number it gives you. Do not change it, leave it as is, because there will be an if you are having too many services in your machine, you might need to change, but otherwise you do not need to change. Just leave that port number as it is, and you can use the same port number. This is the default port number for this particular database.
Okay.
This port number is like on which port number it runs the database.
So this port number belongs to your local machine, right?
Yes, this is the default port number. I haven't changed at the time of installation. So usually you are also having the same thing in your at the time of installation. The software along with the username and password, it will also show you the port number. Because you can change, but ideally it's not recommended to change, because we'll leave the default thing as it is, right? Until and why we need to change in generally, if there is any conflict, then we might need to change. If you are using personal computer, so if it is a server kind of thing, the server will be having a lot of services are going to run. So they might need to refer to server administrators has to refer to the port numbers conflicts. So, but developer in our personal computer, nothing will run, right? So this never going to be a conflict for us. So we can leave that as it is. So we have given the basic information now. Two lines of code. That's all we are done with the connecting to database. So ideally speaking, these are the only two lines to connect to database. Just these are the constants I have used just to make it like more comfort in the kind of editing. So I made them as a variable. So if in future if you want me to convert something else, I'll just modify these values. I will not touch my actual part.
Okay.
So now so when I am going to run this program now, do you think it's going to connect?
Yeah, it will. So you
supposed to connect.
Give all the driver details, right?
It is supposed to connect, but it will be like going to give us an issue. Supposed to connect, but it will give us an issue. What is that issue? It is clearly not found. What is that? Or the process level means here you said something, right? JDBC driver. That driver is trying to load here.
Yeah.
It is not able to load that. That's why it's giving a show. We know that it is downloaded, but did Eclipse and did my program know that it is there? Where exactly it is available? No, right? Did we ever set that it is there in so and so location to load? No, right?
You want to say that we didn't give the particular path, right?
The jar file.
Okay, okay. Path
So, in your Eclipse,
the driver.
that's exactly the driver information. and it is only one time setting for the first time. Build path, libraries, external jars. Wherever you have downloaded, that location you have to mention. In my case, so this is the jar file, PostgreSQL 9.4, whatever the version. Okay, just mention that. It's loading.
So what you did now? So you're giving the file path.
Location of my jar file.
Oh, okay. Location. You're setting the location.
Yes, see the project, properties,
Okay. Properties.
path, and this is the file. Suppose assume that it's not there. Click on external jars and select the location. But select whatever the file name. So open. You'll be added into this one. So
Okay.
everything is added. Now if I run my program, this time it should be able to connect it, provided if there are no other issues.
Okay.
To connect to database successfully.
So not only giving the driver details, JDBC driver details here, I mean static JDBC driver. So we need to set the path also in the Eclipse.
So you're saying that there is something available. The whole then that something has to be available, right? This is the program. When it runs, it tries to load that something.
Yeah.
It cannot find, right? It is there in somewhere in C drive.
Oh yeah.
I have to inform you that, like, for your Eclipse, that this is for your Eclipse project, that the jar file is there in my so-and-so drive.
Oh,
That's what
so okay. Okay, we didn't specify the path. That's why it is showing the error.
Error. You have in your class, so it is there in some other folder. So when you are in some other folder, it cannot recognize, right? Until unless you have to give some reference. That's what we did here now.
Understood.
Because if you really want to check whether it is really connected to database or not, this is my password, right? Postgres. I'm just typing something. Obviously, password is not a valid one, right? But it should give us an error related to some password issue. Password authentication failed, right? That means it's trying to connect to database. 1 second. Got it, right? That's what it is trying to connect to database without an issue in the previous case. If I give a wrong password, it failed immediately. That means it is really connecting to database.
Okay.
Yeah. We give a correct password, should establish. So what is the complexity of the code? So only 2 lines of code, ideally speaking. With these 2 lines, first line, we are trying to load the driver, and the second line, once you load the driver, you are going to talk to a database, the database location, and the username, password.
Okay. So first we need to set the path, and next along with driver details.
Exactly.
And second, database credentials. Okay. Yes. User and password, username and password. Okay. And next we are giving the connection class.forName. Okay.
Yes, class.forName is to help us in loading any particular class. In this case, we would like to load this particular class. The driver class. So once it is loaded, then I'm going to talk to database by invoking this particular method by passing out supplied information.
So, but I didn't understand these 2 lines: class.forName, JDBC driver, and connection.
Yes, the class.forName is going to load any particular class. So right now, we need to load this driver before connecting to database.
Okay.
So this when I say JDBC driver, so this is the JDBC driver is referring this one. So class.forName is going to load any particular class into your program. Okay.
Okay.
This is your program, right? So first it has to load this particular class. Once it loads your class, then you need to request for a database connection. So driver manager.get connection, there is a static method for which it has 3 parameters. If you pass a database username, credentials, everything, this internally, so this is not created by us. This java.sql package itself has a separate logic inside that it is internally it is going to connect to that particular database, and if there are no issues, it is going to give us that connection. So that's what we are saving, that connection in a particular variable.
I didn't get the point. I got only the first statement. I mean, class.forName, it is going to load the JDBC driver.
Once you load the class, it's your responsibility to get a connection. How do you get a connection? So by using username and password and the driver name and all these things, you need to establish a connection. So
okay, after loading, we are writing to connect that database to.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is the main line which is connecting. So here you do not need to write any logic for it. The data skills of the Oracle software itself has given a method called get connection.
Okay.
So that's where like it's everything is transparent, right? And that's how like you might feel that how it's happening. Because the software itself has given a method that to load a connection. One thing. So what you are doing is you are asking me that I'll take care of doing everything. Just give me the required information that what you want me to do. So then giving a parameters that database username, password, and URL to get connection method. It is taking care of all the pain of struggling a connection, and finally it's helping you with a simple connection.
Okay.
So this itself has a lot of logic inside. So if you open the particular thing, this is from the 1.8 version. So java.sql for driver manager. So SQL is from java.sql package, right? So it's taking care of all the pain in loading a connection, and this driver manager.get connection. So what we are doing here, we are asking that give me a connection on what basis? On these 3 parameters base. You do whatever you want, give me a connection. If everything is correct, then give me. Otherwise, give us hands up. So if everything is correct, it's giving a connection. Once I got the connection, I can do everything whatever I wish, right?
Okay. Understood.
Clear now? This so we'll establish a connection. Once you got the connection, now it's all in your hands that you can do whatever you want. Agree or not?
Yeah.
So if you do not have a connection, then it will be like where you need to wait. If you are having a connection, then you can do whatever you want, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So in Java, if you want to talk to a database, you have 3 kind of statements which are available: statement, prepare statement, callable statement. Okay. Generally, when I say statement, we need to write a query, right? So that query has to be sent with either of these 3 ways. So each 3 has different purposes. This statement is for a regular purpose, like you can use this statement for writing any kind of a query to database. Okay. And the prepare statement is also similar to the statement, but the difference is that if you want to insert 100 records into database, so when you do the same thing on the statement and when you do the same thing with the prepare statement, there will be a like performance difference. Means
Okay.
When you do with the statement, when you're doing for 100 records inserting, 100 queries are sent to database, 100 times it you want to compile. The query is same, right? Ideally speaking, only values might change, but still it's going to compile 100 times. But in
the query we are going to give in any of the 3 ways.
I'm just comparing only between these 2.
Yeah. Okay.
If you let's say you would like to save a record in a student table, so 100 records I would like to store in a student table means obviously student number, name, age, those are the common fields, right? So inserting with a statement for 100 records, 100 times its query is going to send to a database. Means from Java, query is sent to database. Means whatever the database you are using, I'm using this one, right? Sent to database, and then 100 times it will compile.
Okay.
So that means for each record it compiles once because the query you are passing in the different set of values.
So it is hitting the database for 100 times.
Yes, obviously 100 times it has to hit, right? You are saying a record, so it will hit the database. You are saying one more record, it will hit the database, right? So here also it is going to hit the database 100 times, but the difference is that query is not going to be compiled again and again. For the first time, whatever the query you set, the same query is going to take again and again. So compilation time will not be wasted here. Here, compilation time every time is going to take a couple of seconds. Here, the only first time it takes some time effort. After that, it will not take any compilation effort.
But the compilation happens only one time, right?
Only once. So obviously there will be a performance difference, right? So that's the main difference between the statement and prepare statement. Whereas a callable statement is like, if you have a procedure or a function in a database, do you know, right? What is procedure or function? Okay, let me give. So in Java, we write a function, right?
Yeah.
So for what purpose we write a function? To achieve some task.
Yeah.
In the same way, database developers also, they do write some component of a function because they would like to achieve something. It's not that they only write queries in single line. Even they do write hundreds and thousands of lines of a code in a program, and they pack everything in a function. Okay.
Oh, okay. So in database also we do use the functions.
We do use the functions, and they do have another term called procedure. There is a small word difference.
Okay, okay.
Also, they'll write thousands of lines of a code. So,
understood.
So from Java, so let's say the thousands of lines of code is performing some function. So I want you to achieve the same function in Java. Are you going to sit for a couple of months and to write the same logic? No, right? What we'll do from Java, we'll just give a request to that function which is there in the database by passing parameters. I expect the result. There ends the matter, right? Point here is, if something is there in the database in the form of functions, you can even invoke that function from the Java.
No, come again?
Got it?
No, that's good. Come again.
So from Java, if you want to invoke a function which is there in the database, you can invoke that from the Java code using a callable statement.
Okay.
Suppose you have a function in some other class. How we are doing? You are creating instance for that class. You are calling a method, right?
Okay.
In Java, we are calling a method from some other class.
Yes.
You are creating instance. You are calling a method, right? The same way, if you have some function in the database, you can invoke that function in the Java by simply creating a callable statement and mention that function name to invoke that function logic here.
Okay.
Got it? Right now I just told you the differences, but we haven't done programming for each individual thing. I'll show you the program for each individual thing here. Okay?
Oh, same like in Java, we are creating instance and we are calling the methods.
The same way we can achieve that everything will be done by callable statement.
Callable statements in database.
Yes. For the callable statement, you are going to mention that what is the function name. So then it is going to call that function which is there in the database and give you the result.
Oh, and the statement is just like giving a single line query.
Yes, statement and prepare statement for regular queries, and the callable statement is for if you want to have something which is there in the form of function, if you want to execute that function from Java, callable statement. Okay.
Okay.
I'll show you the examples for all three, then you might be more clear.
Yeah.
Not get confused with this thing. So up to here you are clear, right? Connected.
Yes, yes.
Okay, then we are good. So any doubts on these topics, whatever we discussed today?
No.
Okay, I think we are good for today, and we'll continue with the next topics, especially these topics in tomorrow's class. Okay.
Okay then.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Today.
Good night.